Good Lord, I think we've found the Holy Grail. Welcome to Lot 76 Cars, and today we're at the Collecting Cars Coffee Run at Bicester Heritage. Some great cars, many of which are still in the queue arriving behind me. Let's go and take a walk around, have a look at some of the cars and have a chat with some of the owners. Hope you enjoy the tour. So first up, a lovely BMW 3-litre CSL Coupe Sport Light. I think I may have seen this one before. I'm not sure whether this is officially called the Batmobile because of that rear wing. It's certainly a name it picked up from its touring car exploits. Absolutely stunning car, that one, isn't it? I may even have seen that one in a previous video here. Nevertheless, it's great to see it again, isn't it? What a stunner. So this fabulous E92 BMW is one, apparently, of 30 M3s in the world in this Dakar colour. A colour that was used on earlier M3s. The level of preparation on it is stunning. I was saying to the owner, if my exterior of my car looked like under bonnet on his, then I'd be extremely happy. It's a really interesting looking car because although it's modified, it's been done in a very subtle way. So we're going to have a chat with the owner in a second. We'll just get some shots of the back of it, but we'll have a chat with Roy and see if he can tell us what he's done to the car, because it's an absolute stunner, isn't it? Absolute stunner. So I'm here with Roy, who's going to tell us about this fabulous E92 Dakar, which is what I think one of 30 in the world, you said?
Yeah, one of 30 in the world in this colour.
It's an absolutely stunning interior. I'll cut some shots in, guys, of the interior because quite honestly it's an absolute stunner. But tell us about this car and your story with this and what you've done to it.
So I've had this 3 years. It was a bit of a mess when I got it. It's taken me 3 years to get it how it is today.
Wow.
I've changed most things, as you can see when you walk around the car. The bodywork was fine, suspension was done, brakes were done, I've refreshed most things, I've covered it in carbon, complete full interior trim.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the colour coded parts in the interior, that's your...
So all the colour coding for the parts of the interior, the guy that done the trimming,
right,
his brief was, I just wanted a diamond stitching. That was all I told him to do.
Okay.
And emboss the headrests, because all the headrests are embossed.
Yeah.
But other than that, he went full crazy.
He went bananas with it.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a Larry colour,
yeah.
So he went Larry with the interior, which, to be fair, has worked out absolutely
Yeah,
amazing.
he does. It complements it, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, really well.
I'll cut some shots in that as well. And it's semi-automatic gearbox. It's SMG or it's...
DCT.
So it's a step-on from SMG?
Yeah, so this is a dual-clutch transmission. So it's a bit better. Still a little bit slow with modern stuff, but if you drive it sympathetically,
right,
it's absolutely fine.
And what sort of horsepower we got with something like this?
So it's just been tuned 2 weekends ago. It's just come back from Mallory Performance,
right,
and it's now running 420 brake with 400 pounds-foot of torque.
420 as opposed to standard, what,
standard? They're supposed to be, yeah, well, they're supposed to be, they say they were all 414 brake from factory, but they're not. They're a bit, you'll be lucky if you get one for about running 390, right, 396. So they're quite low on power, really. They overestimated the power on these cars when they launched them.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's running now, really, just say what the factory should say they are running, and it drives really nicely. I don't drive it crazy because it's my daily. I daily this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for telling us about it. Well, I really
no, not at all. I'm grateful for the time.
No, thank you very much, and appreciate that.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye-bye. So Lancer Evos are pretty special things, and no less special is this one in full Tommy Mackinnon livery. So to celebrate one of their numerous wins or championship wins, the guys actually produced this Mackinnon edition, which has got these fabulous stripes on the side of it here. Of course, where would it be without that huge rear spoiler? It's a lovely car, isn't it? I don't know what these are like to drive. I've never actually driven one, so stick it in the comments if you got one or you want to let me have a go in yours. It's lovely. So I've got a soft spot, as you probably know, for E36 BMWs, and this E36 Coupe in Boston Green is a little stunner. It's come all the way from Wales to the event here in Bicester today. It's got some subtle modifications, suspension's dropped, it's on coilovers, although the owner tells me the ride has not been completely mullered. Although it's a 328i, the manifold has been swapped and it's a 325i manifold, and apparently that releases a bit more power. Well, I'll take his word for that one, but it's certainly a lovely car in that colour, isn't it? What a pretty shape BMW came up with for that one. Built to celebrate Honda's 50th birthday in 1999 is the Honda S2000, a car that really didn't have a predecessor, or in fact a successor. I think this one might be Moon Rock Blue, but I'm open to offers on that one, so stick it in the comments if this is yours or you know, because I'm just going from memory. Stunning looking car. I know these two suffer from rust and they're getting pretty rare. A bit tail happy in the wrong hands, but that interior, that blue interior is lovely, isn't it? Well, I do like that, and it's in superb order as well. And for an 05 plated car, that's looking pretty mint, isn't it? So one of Blackpool's creations is a TVR T350C. Some great features on these. A lot of the interior trim was milled aluminium to save using parts bin parts. I think the door opening, because there's no handles, I think you press that to open the doors. Although again, I'm open to offers on that one. I certainly think that's the case. Stunning colour, isn't it? Like a sort of colour that changes, like a colour that Nissan used to do back in the day called Chroma Flare. Really, really unusual colour, and what an incredible car. Some super design features. Exhaust that you could just about probably get your hand or your arm halfway down there. Incredible rear lights there. Yeah, what a car, what a car. So one of the legendary Toyotas, an AE86, so this rear wheel drive car is an absolute legend, quite revered now, worth an awful lot of money. This one's a left hand drive car, so it's had a life elsewhere by the look of it, and it's don't know what it's actually badged as, but it says it's been to Nürburgring or bust. Well, it didn't bust by the look of it. It got back, didn't it? Incredible. Now this, what do you think this is? Well, I know it's a Devarian, but I've just had to ask, I'll be honest with you. I chickened out of that one. It's a Devarian Mark 8. I think these were Welsh built cars. Whether they were kit cars or fully finished cars, I'm not quite sure. An incredible looking car. I do remember them back in the day. This one's on an X plate. Not sure what that represents. Probably what, 2000 on an X. Wonder what those rear lights are from. Yeah, it's got echoes of XJS at the back, hasn't it? With those buttresses. What do you think? So as the number plate says, this is an M3, but it's a CSL Coupe Sport Light, of course, but this benefits from lighting parts. I think you've got maybe a carbon fibre roof, looking at it from memory. I think you've got a very light boot lid as well, and these were only ever supplied with the sort of potentially controversial gearbox that was the sequential manual gearbox, the SMG. Lovely car. Some of these have been converted to manuals as well. I think potentially I'd be less excited finding the Holy Grail than I would this Mazda 323 from what, S77? I haven't seen one of these for years. A neighbour of my parents many years ago had them. This is the very early days of Mazda in the UK. The 323 was their vehicle to compete, I guess, with the Escort at the time. Looks like an original UK car. Look where the radio's located, more on the nearer to the passenger side than the drivers, in that lovely signal orange, or whatever Mazda called their orange colour. Wow, got the original dealer plates. Probably one of the last of the great M cars is this E39 M3 BMW. Don't you just love it how BMW can flick their mirrors up like that for parking? This is a manual car as well, which is I know some of these might have been converted from autos back to manuals. Lovely condition, isn't it? Great to see. E39s, I love them. So this is a Bentley Turbo RT, and this old lady can really pick up her skirts because she's got something like about 400 brake horsepower, I think. This one's in absolutely lovely condition. The paintwork survived, there's no lacquer peel on there. It's an absolute stunner, isn't it? Let's just take in the full beauty and magnificence of that. What a car. So towards the back end of the original sort of ZX type of shape is this 300 ZX Turbo. It looks like it's from '86 looking at this one, and it actually looks like a UK car because it's right hand drive, got those lovely semi pop-up lights there, not the full pop-up lights. It's in pretty good order as well. Let's just take a look inside. We've got that fabulous T-bar roof arrangement. It's a reasonable four-seater. You can use it to four-seater. Admittedly, you won't want to get your granny in the back because you struggle to get her back out again. But don't you love those velour type trims of vehicles of that age? Yeah, I can see how people are attracted to those. Lovely. Less than 1,000 of these, in fact I think about 950 were produced. It's a Lotus Carlton, so using the Vauxhall or Opel, Vauxhall Carlton or Opel Amiga 3 litre GSI, Lotus converted these, added twin turbos, gave them about 400 brake horsepower. The most famous one of these is one's called 40RA, is the registration number. So look that one up. The police could never catch it back in the day. It was the robbers and ram raiders vehicle of choice. In fact, with 177 mile an hour top speed, apparently questions were even asked back in the day in Parliament as to whether it was just too fast for UK roads. Who called the fire brigade? Well, who called the German fire brigade? As it turns out, this is a Mercedes 711D from the German fire service. By the look of it, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that because my German is so bad. It's open here, we can have a look inside it. Fully equipped as a camper van now. That's not quite for stealth camping, isn't it? It's not quite stealthy enough being painted in that colour and referencing the German fire service, but nevertheless great to see it amongst the mix of vehicles here. And another BMW, this time an E30 Cabriolet. These, compared to the original Bauer Cabriolets, look great, don't they? Because you've got that fully open rear deck, lovely checked interior, those seats that sort of extend out under the thigh. That is a very desirable car these days, isn't it? Another TVR, this time this lovely Griffith. This one's open, so maybe we can try and have a look in a second in the inside of the car. Let's get a look from the front first of all. They are pretty looking cars, aren't they? I think the Griffith had something, I think it still had the Rover V8 engine, but highly tuned. Certainly, I think, distinctive looking cars. Inside, this one's got the sort of semi Targa type top. Look at those milled aluminium switchgear on there as well. As I mentioned before, TVR did that to avoid using the parts bin. What an incredible car, isn't it? I do like that one, as you can tell. No sign of any in-betweeners here today is this Seicento. It's got some Bath badges on it, but I expect it's a, Seicento Sporting or something like that. These are great little cars, aren't they? Yeah, it is a Sporting, but with a few liberally applied Bath badges. So Alfa's 105 series cars had some subtle changes. Some of them had what they call the step front on the nose. This is a GT 1600, lovely pretty little coupes. Some of these were turned into Zagatos, which you may have seen in my other videos, with a quite different looking body shell. These are, to my eyes, very pretty cars. Better as a standard car probably than a Zagato, although some would argue otherwise. It's pretty rare to see a VW Jetta these days, but it's even rarer to see one in GTI trim as this one is. Everybody knows about the Golf GTI, but the Jetta somehow just gets left behind. Some would argue with the boot, this huge boot on the back, it's a much more practical vehicle, but seldom seen these days. Jetta GTI, wow. So part together we've got two generations of SL here. At the front we've got the older car, the 113, which is celebrating I think 60 years since it was launched back in 1963, and then behind it we've got this lovely yellow R107 chassis car, that, you know, the squarer cars that probably many of us will be familiar with, and that MB Tex interior rather than not sure it's leather, and it's a 350. Looks like quite an early car by the look of it, doesn't it? So recently tipped by JM is the car to buy, and you should buy one quickly, is this Mark II MR2, available as a GT and a non-GT. The non-GT looks a bit odd because it has the spoiler missing and a slightly less power. Still reasonable to drive, but this one's the T-bar, so it's got the proper lift out T-bar panels there. It's got that all important rear spoiler, and it's in lovely condition, isn't it? So we've got a couple of early Z cars, 240Zs. One looks, this lime green one looks like a 74 car. And next to it, we've, I think these probably came together, we've got a K-plated one. Looks like that one's from probably 1971, 72 by the look of it. Badge VW 1500 or Volkswagen 1500 is this car. I think this is the 411 chassis car, but I'm going from memory. Still obviously rear engined. I think they had aspirations to try and go up market and try and give themselves a model above the Beetle. I'm not quite sure it worked. This one's for sale. So pause the video at the right spot and you can give Matt a ring about that one. Lovely interior, isn't it? I suspect it's probably been retrimmed. Great that it looks like it's got an original factory roof there. It looks like it's on air ride as well. Quite subtle. What an intriguing looking vehicle that one is, isn't it? So UPO 69, which is a registration number, is a Pontiac Firebird. I think it's the F-type bodies. I'm not an expert on American cars, so apologies. I think that sort of grille design was quite unique or quite distinctive, and fitted on Pontiacs. It's an incredible looking car, isn't it? Pillarless coupe. Unusual to see them in white. Obviously imported, not officially sold here at all. Yeah, again another vehicle showing what a fabulous mix of vehicles we've got here at the Collecting Cars event. So here's an Alfa Romeo 4C, built in limited numbers with a 1750cc engine, I believe, also built as a roadster. Relatively rare cars these days. I think they were shown back in something like 2013. I think a lot of composite parts in there. Didn't really sell that well, quite expensive back in the day, but great to see that one here today. Looks wise, it's an extremely striking car to look at, isn't it? As many of my viewers will know, I'm a little bit obsessed with Micras, particularly the K10s, and this is a later K10 facelift, looking at the bumpers and looking at the grille. It's been subtly modified with some white wheels. The suspension's been dropped a bit, but it's recognisably that same interior that I learned to drive in all those years ago, and many other people did. It's even got the original dealer plates, Dutton Forshaw, Vicarage Lane, Blackpool. Wow, I wonder what they're doing these days. Incredible to see that here today, and another car demonstrating a massive diversity of vehicles. So with a divisive styling and a very catchy tune on their advertising, I think Groove Armada, shaking that ass, I think I remember it saying, is this Renault Megane. This is the Sport. Got that lovely, this is the F1 team trimmed car. Quite a practical car, decent looking Recaro seats in there. And that's what all the controversy was about. That back end, When's the last time you saw that generation of Megane full stop? So the Collecting Cars Coffee event is bigger and better this time than even previous events, which were pretty good themselves. There is a lot more to see. I've covered a fraction of what's here today, so please keep watching and we'll try and show you a few more interesting cars. So continuing down the rows, there's a lot of cars here today. Picking out that Dolomite Sprint. They're celebrating a 50th birthday this year, I believe. That was launched in '73. Coventry Climax did the work on that 16 valve head. Lovely Porsche 911. There's a Porsche event sort of going on simultaneously here. Panda 100 horsepower. A W140 series Mercedes S-Class. Now a lot of these went for export. Lovely to see this one. I think this is an L, so it must be a 94. Let's have a look. I think it's even got the original purchase invoice. Yeah, apparently brand new, this car in smoke silver was £61,400 back on the 1st of August 1993. So in fact it's a 93 car. Incredible to see that here today. Look at the space. They really engineered an incredible car with this one. No shortage of rear space. Maybe it's a long wheelbase car. What you'll notice in the back here is you'll notice what looks like two aerials. So let me just pick them out for you. You'll notice here and also on this side here. In fact, they're not aerials, they're parking poles. So they actually pop up when you put the car in reverse, so you can actually see the corners of the vehicle for reversing before the invention or before the availability of parking sensors. So we appear to have tripped over a trio of Mercedes 190s. This is a 2316 valve car. I think these have got something like about 180 horsepower. The head on them designed by Cosworth, never officially called the Cosworth. But what's incredible with this one is look at the touring car livery that he's got on it. Sonics, which produce I think fluids and things like this. I think known particularly well in Germany. Boss livery on the side. Doesn't that look a treat? So stepping back a bit, we found one of the last, I think 1,000 cars were produced. These were the LEs, limited edition run out cars before the launch of the successor W202 chassis cars. And to top it all off is another Cosworth, this time without the livery. Wow. All of those, that car celebrating its 40th birthday is an event at the beginning of October at the Mercedes-Benz World at Brooklands. Now if you're into the rat look, then this is probably the one for you. It's a Carmen Ghia, obviously sharing a lot of parts with the Beetle. A lot of these were sold in the US. I'm not sure if they were officially sold in the UK. That one may have been retrimmed inside, I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure that it goes far better than that rat look would indicate. So built in 1961 is this lovely little Mini called Gracie, and it is in actual fact an Austin Mini Minor, sold as under a couple of brands. I think sold under the Mini Minor originally before just dropping back down to Mini. This one's in superb condition, been in the family many years and in absolutely lovely order. So collaboration between Donald Healey and I think Lord Stokes, I think it was of Austin. They produced this Austin Healey sports car. I'm not sure if this is a Series 3 car or not. Really hairy chested, probably coined the phrase hairy chested sports car. I hadn't clocked the fact that they were actually a 4-seater, and there's actually a little bit of room in there for passengers, albeit very small ones. I think it's got that iconic livery, I think used for the rally cars as well. Great to see that here today. The more I look at the E36 BMW shape, the more I realise they really got it right with this generation. Quite basic cars, to be honest with you. Radios are extra, no air conditioning of course. This one's an automatic, which would have been an option. Massive step change compared to the E30 design. This one's in lovely condition, and rarely do you see the very early cars like this one. This is probably what, a 93 or 94 with those fully exposed plastic bumpers. They went to body colour bumpers later on, partial and then full, and even it's even got the original wheel caps, plastic wheel caps instead of alloys. Great to see that here today. I really have a lot of time for these, and hope you appreciate that as well. A bit lost in the shadow of the Type R Hondas, Toyota decided to come up with this Toyota Corolla T-Sport. The first iteration, they did struggle a bit. The ride height was a bit too tall. The gearing meant that even at 70 it was well over, I think, 4,000 revs or something like that from memory. Nevertheless, they are far rarer now to see these than a Honda Type R. Far rarer. They also did a compressor version of these, which was sold in very limited numbers. If you find one of those, I suggest you hang on to it. Now this is lovely, isn't it? It's a Lancia Fulvia 1600 HF on those Chromadoria wheels. I probably got that wrong. Stunning livery, isn't it? It's absolutely lovely condition. Left-hand drive. I'm not sure so many of these came to the UK. I think they did, but if they did, it would have been very limited numbers. Great to see that here today. You had the bumpers taken off and caps put in their place, but lovely car. So this is the ultimate in useful vehicles. It's a 1959 Chevrolet Camino pickup. So just look at the load deck on this one. Some lovely features on the car, but look at the size of the load deck. It goes on and on and on and on. Wow, that is incredible, isn't it? Just the sort of thing you need for nipping down IKEA or B&Q. As long as you could get it parked, you'd certainly get everything you bought in it on the way home, wouldn't you? Well, that's a rare one to see a Polo of that generation. What's that, 92, 93? Anyway, this is, I think it was called the Coupe. There was the Derby, I remember, was the saloon version, and the bread wagon one, as we call it. But you rarely see them, and certainly in this condition. This is a CL Coupe. Oh, so it was a coupe. I was right then for once. Excellent. Well, shout out to the owner of that. It's in stunning order. Love those sort of BBS style alloy wheels on it as well. It looks a treat. So lovely to see a minivan here. This is a late one. It's an 83. So we're going to have a chat with the owner in a second and try and find out a bit more about it. Got a lovely livery on there. Squeaky Deek Speed Shop. Got those tiny wheels. I believe this one's still got the 998 engine in there, but with twin carbs, and we'll see what he's got to say. So I'm with Dean, who's got this fabulously rebuilt minivan. Sat inside them. I'd forgotten how small they were. I remember my dad bought one for $5 many years ago. Sadly, they're a bit more than that now. Dean, tell us about this car, because you've got a unique paint livery on this one, and you've obviously spent lots of time just looking around the interior of it as well.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I always wanted one. I've had a few minis, and my dad had a minivan, and yeah, so that's how it came about, really. So
and how long have you had it?
I've had it about 12 months now.
Okay, and have you done the paint work on it? Or
no, I bought it like this. So I bought it from a chap called Mark Deacon, who's quite well known in the mini circles.
Right.
And he completely restored it. I think this is the 7th one he's done. So it's front cover of Mini World magazine.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's a cracking little
and
thing.
What's it, 1275 engine?
No, it's the original 999.
Oh, is it?
But it's on twin SU carbs, and it's got a fast road cam in it.
And it weighs just barely more than a crisp packet, so it still goes a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does go well actually. It's compared to modern stuff, obviously not, but yeah.
Do you drive it far, or?
Well, I've come 110 miles today,
oh.
So it's the furthest I've actually driven it. So
yeah?
It was one of those fingers crossed and make sure everything goes all right. But,
well, you made it a safety. We'll cut in some pictures of the Mini, because it's absolutely superb, and as you say, they've certainly massively increased in value. In fact, the vans and the pickups seem to be more collectible now than the cars, don't they?
Yeah, well, I think I've got an old 60s Mini as well, which I'm just in the middle of restoring. And the thing is with those, you can buy shells and things like that, but you can't buy a mini pickup or a minivan shell.
Right.
So once they're gone, they're gone. So, and obviously they didn't make very many vans or
right.
pickups. So yeah, it's just a great thing. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for telling us about it. Much appreciated.
No
Cheers,
thank you.
So Ginetta, a company that's celebrating a big birthday. I think it's 65th birthday this year. I went to the G-Fest event and filmed that, so check out the video. But this is a G33. In fact, I think I saw the same car. I'm pretty sure it's got the Rover V8 engine in, built initially in Essex and now built more as race cars up near Leeds. What a fabulous car they are. Not an awful lot in terms of weather protection, but thankfully it's pretty good here, the weather at Bicester today. Quite a special looking car. Love those yellow highlights and those yellow dials as well. So the Porsche Club GBs also got their separate section on the day. There are more 911s I can shake a stick at, so forgive me for not pulling out your Porsche if you're here at the show today. There are just so many. I'm pretty pulled towards this lovely 968 Club Sport, stripped out, no aircon, probably no central locking, no radio, very basic cars inside, stripped out for mainly for racing, or certainly for people who've got the aspirations of doing some road racing events with the car. I think the 968 with its pop-up lights is a really pretty car, and they'd evolved that chassis from the 924. Don't forget, they're right at the beginning to something like this, and I think they've done a great job. What a fine looking car that one is. So this is a Series 2 944. I think they moved from 2.5 to 2.7 and eventually to 3 litre. I'm not sure whether this might be a 2.7 in the middle. Lovely, this lovely burgundy metallic colour, contrasting light leather interior. Quite useful, a reasonable boot space, a proper space in the boot there, and even a parcel shelf to keep things from prying eyes. Pretty big full metal sunroof in there as well, isn't it? Yeah, there's something about these. I must admit that I do like the 944s. So technically a historic vehicle, this 41-year-old 1982 Porsche 911 Sport Carrera SC. The owner's had it for a little while. I'm going to get him to tell us about it. It's got some lovely features. I do like the early cars with those fabulous wheels on them. Really close to the original design. It's a Targa top, so actually quite a useful car. An air-cooled car rather than the later water-cooled cars. The air-cooled cars seem to be the ones to go for, and they're quite highly prized these days. So without further ado, let's go and chat with the owner and get us to tell us about this car. So Keith, I don't know so much about 911s. There's a lot here today, but this one, tell me, this is an SC Sports?
This is an SC, which stands for Super Carrera.
Super Carrera, okay.
1982. It's the Targa, so it's got the roof that comes out, and you can put it in the boot. It's a 3 litre. It should have 208 horsepower, but it's 41 years old, so it might have lost a few horses.
Yeah, so it's ULEZ friendly and historic, and no road fund licence and so on.
Right.
How long have you had the car?
I bought it in 2015 off a chap who used to work for Porsche, and he was a bodybuilder for Porsche. So he's part of his retirement. He's renovating them. Right. And I went there and bought it after he'd renovated it. So I haven't really done anything to it as such. This is how I purchased it.
And what's power output, CC and power? What is it?
It's a 3 litre.
3 litre. Okay.
208.
So
204
still
to 208.
Yeah, and the weight of it?
I don't know.
No, so probably this cars of this age. I mean, 208 horsepower, still going some, isn't it? Really. Yeah. And you use it every day, or you? I
use it a lot. Yes, I don't use it every day. It's high days and nice days, basically. But I do use it a lot.
And what do you like about 911s? You know, obviously you'd always wanted one. You'd had one before. Or?
Yeah. It was. I had one before. I had a water-cooled 996 before.
Okay.
There was a problem with the engine. I took it into a garage, and when I was at the garage, he said to me, "You should go for an air-cooled before the prices start to rocket."
Well, he was right.
And he was
really?
right.
Yeah, absolutely good advice.
So I had a look around. It took me 2 years till I found this one. I saw some quite what we call basket cases, I suppose, that needed a lot of work doing on them. And of course, when I went to this one, and the chap said, "Oh, I used to work for Porsche. I was a bodybuilder, and it's been completely renovated."
Okay, you're confident in it.
It was quite good.
It's in lovely order, isn't it? Really.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for talking to us about it.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So this is an E28 BMW 5 Series, and it's Alpina badge, but it really is an Alpina car. I've seen the plate inside, produced in low volume. This is their B9 3.5 or 3.6 litre car. Alpina now owned directly by BMW. They weren't at the time they were producing this, but cooperated really closely with them. Stunning looking car. For me, you know, all those Alpinas with those graphics on the side absolutely just pop, don't they? Stunning condition. Unusual to see one in this solid red colour, I would suggest, and probably, bearing in mind, not built in huge numbers, so you're not going to see too many of these, are you? So supposedly developed partially by Ayrton Senna is the Honda NSX. As easy to drive as a Civic, but with a bit more power. This is a desirable earlier car. It's a manual and got the pop-up headlamps and a very desirable registration number on there as well. What a fabulously drivable, usable car the NSX was. This is when Honda were really in their heyday many years ago. Not so much these days, but what a car they produced. Fabulous, fabulous car, isn't it? So with a 4.6 litre Rover engine and 250 horsepower, this Marcos Mantara Spider is certainly going to shift, isn't it? Next to it looks to be a later car, built I think when Marcos had actually changed ownership, both of which lovely looking cars. Absolutely stunning. Stunning look on that one. They're closed in slightly different light treatment there. Let's just have a quick look while we can at this biscuit coloured interior, which is beautiful as well. That huge transmission tunnel. What a lovely car. So I'm not quite sure which colour chart you're going to find this on. Back in the old issues of Vauxhall's Mark III Cavalier brochures, but it's a hell of a car. Ball by alloys on it. It's certainly got some really racing seats in it, and just for good measure, it's got a spoiler that doubles as a dinner table. What a car! I quite like that. And a lovely, very original looking metallic blue Escort Mark 1 estate. It's an early car. It's a J. What would that make it? 70, 71. I think car was launched in 68, replacing the 105e Anglia. This one's open so we can get a quick look inside. Isn't it strange that we should produce estate cars that were just two doors? The practicality of an estate, but with the impracticality of two missing doors. Incredible. Got that flash of wood trim there, and in absolutely superb condition. Lovely. So thanks again for joining us on Lot 76 Cars at the Collecting Cars Coffee Run at Bicester Heritage. Another fabulous event. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so as not to miss my next video, and look forward to you joining me on the next one. Thanks for watching.